Hello farm members. This week you're getting to choose and enjoy lots of different winter squashes, so I wanted to show them to you and give you some hints and tips, and also just any other highlights that from my box. You know, I mostly have fruit and vegetables to show you, but I did this new black locust honey I wanted to try. Black locust is a tree, and so the bees that were harvesting the pollen around the area for this beekeeper, this was taken after the black locust trees were blossoming, and so that would be the primary food that the bees that were making this honey had access to. And so I wanted to give this a try and see how this compares to many of the other honeys. If you enjoy honey, you really should try different kinds because there can be quite a lot of variation in the flavor, although it's always very honey tasting. So it's a strong, thick honey taste. I can't say if I are noticing anything in particular about this. It's definitely a dark honey, strong honey taste, not light like a lighter flowery citrusy honey. So that's definitely very enjoyable, and a little will go a long way with the flavor. It's not watered down in any way. All right, so winter squash. This is a delicata. These are about the length of my hand. They can get bigger, hopefully not too much smaller. Typical way of cutting these is lengthwise and then scooping out the seeds. Any of the winter squash, you can save the seeds and toast them just like you would for pumpkin seeds. So that's just another little hint for you. You can also save them and grow your own squash, but they may not be true to they grow very easily, but they might not be exactly true to this, because squash will cross-pollinate with other squash. So that's a really interesting thing about squash, is you can get all different blends of features from different squash varieties from your compost pile, if you've ever had squash growing just randomly around. Delicata have a thin skin, so it's edible. There's lots of ways of like slicing and roasting them thin. So enjoy the different recipes that you can find for delicata. Here are your classic acorn squash. Now this one doesn't have that acorn tip like this one does, but they're both the same. These are a little bit drier flesh. They're very, this is what everybody thinks about when they think of winter squash, especially for stuffing, is acorn squash, cutting them in half, roasting them. These ones you're gonna want to cut in half this way as well. And a lot of times you'll add a sweet filling to it, or plenty of butter to mix into that flesh that's just a little bit dense and a little bit dry. So you'll want to add things to that. The sweet dumpling, or there's lots of different names or lots of similar varieties that are like this. These are developed because, as I said, the squash can cross-pollinate very easily, so it's very easy to select features that you like. If you're someone who's into doing that the seed producers do that to create new varieties. Universities do it. They're always trying to solve a problem and create a better variety that people will enjoy eating. solving problems for farmers like disease resistance and things like that. So these are sweeter, more moist flesh. They're really pretty and colorful. The nice thing about these squash is that they can sit on your table as a decoration or in your counter. So even here, you know, you could, the rosemary looks really good with this. And in fact, the rosemary would be a great savory flavor to marry with these stuffed squash, with your squash. The other thing to note about squash is there's lots of different ways of cooking them to soften them up, roasting them, so cutting them in half, scooping out the seeds, flipping them over, putting a little bit of water in that tray so that they steam, and then flipping them over, filling them and roasting them the rest of the way. That's a very typical and great way of doing it. You can, any of these, you can also just throw in the oven whole. And then when they're nice and soft, you can cut them in half much more easily and scoop out the seeds in the middle. So these definitely do take some strength and they're round. And so you need a really sharp, heavy knife to cut them in half. And if that is too difficult for you or too dangerous in your kitchen, then go ahead and get them softer by cooking them in the oven. Some people, I don't like the microwave, but you can also put them in the microwave for 10-15 minutes. That will just cook the outsides of them a little bit and make it easier for slicing. So there's lots of tips and tricks for winter squash. Now, the spaghetti squash is unique because the strands of flesh are spiraled inside of this like a spaghetti noodle. Now, it took me a couple of years, but I finally learned that the spiral of the strands of the noodles go around this way. So if you want long strands and you don't want to cut the strands in half like your spaghetti, if you want those long twistable strands, you're going to want to cut your spaghetti squash in half this way along the waist or widthwise so that those strands can continue wrapping around. If you want to stuff it boat-like, then you'll definitely want to do it lengthwise. Just know that your strands of spaghetti will be the length of your spaghetti squash. All right, another favorite green of mine is arugula. This has I always thought of it as a nutty flavor, and it has a little bit of a peppery bite to it. This is great mixed in salads. I love it on its own. Some people don't prefer it that way. It gives a nice dimension to your salads, that extra nutty taste, or on sandwiches, or it even can be chopped and mixed into other cooked dishes, like a nice penne pasta or something with goat cheese and arugula. There's really a lot of ways to use it. Have fun with these red onions. These are tube shaped. They might be called torpedo red onions because of their shape. It's just, it's a nice shape to just easily cut them into rounds. So enjoy that. And that's the highlights for today. Besides highlighting the rosemary, the cilantro, and the parsley. So you won't have any trouble telling them apart if you got both of them, because they have the bands that are labeled and they have different smells, especially this rosemary. So the rosemary we'll keep in the refrigerator. You probably can just put it in a bag, but watch it. You could put it in water on the counter as well, but these are more woody stems. So they've dried out in transit to you. I'm not sure how much. What typically happens is the bottom of this will just rot in that water, but the top will stay fresh. So change the water if you want to keep that fresh, otherwise you'll have something kind of stinky on your counter. But the other great thing about rosemary is that it has a lot of flavor when dried. So if use what you can fresh, and then if you want to just lay it out on a parchment or something, it'll naturally dry and crisp up. Then you can easily take them off the twiggy stems that they have and throw them in a jar. You could also dehydrate them on a tray, but just over time they will naturally dry up. So it's not very hard to deal with rosemary, either fresh or dry. This is rather a thick bunch of rosemary, so you're gonna, if you got the rosemary, this will be able to continue to be used fresh or dry for a long time. And like I said before, definitely use it in a savory way with your squash, and then, or with your potatoes if you've gotten those. There's and lots of recipes. Eggs. What else do I? Rosemary, great with sausage and meats and things. Since it's a strong flavor and very aromatic, it's used even for stuffing into your turkeys and your chickens and your pork and things like that. That flavor comes through really well. So enjoy that. Have a great day. I've got to run. Lots of stuff to do with the kids today. So enjoy your vegetables, your pears, your apples, and meats and cheeses, your raw milk that you're getting from us this week. Have a wonderful day and make beautiful meals and send me pictures. Thanks so much. Bye.